there, welcome back to another Bannerlord video. This is my custom sandbox that I created with over 100 mods, and I'm gonna try to share with you guys a little bit of the storyline as we play, and maybe I can help you get something like this set up yourself. So I'm playing on Bannerlord 1.03, and my mods, most of them are posted in the description. I forgot I've had a few new ones to the list, so I will add those later. But what I started with is my little warband and custom companion, which gave me full control over troops and heroes. And then I started adding gameplay tweaks, as well as item imports to create unique troops. And I kind of had these two separate ideas of doing like a mythical playthrough as well as like a more historical type playthrough, and then what I did was I just kind of mixed them together. And so I'm calling this one Fellowship Reborn, is because all the members of the Fellowship are historical warriors who are obviously dead. And we got characters from all ages, all eras, all types of religions, all cultures, all fighting under one banner, and it's kind of like an Age of Empires style game. So here we go, let's jump into this first match. So it was like 400 versus 500. I'm outnumbering them, so this should be a pretty easy match, but let's see if I can really minimize the casualties. So we survey the land and see these two peaks. We're going to use these two hills as cover, because the AI just never seems to attack as a single unit. So what that means is we're going to wait here so we're not in the open for getting hit with arrows. And we're going to wait for them to come over this hill and then do an all-out attack on them, on their forces individually. We'll be starting with their cavalry. And so I got my shield square as a screen on the flank here. Then there's a pike square and then some archers. And what I'm going to do is, usually when I start I do a hit and run, similar to a Crazy Horse hit and run, or even a Mongolian hit and run, where we're going to stay mobile and we pass by the enemy cavalry or the infantry or whatever troops they are, and we stay moving as fast as we can so we don't get hit as often, and we fly by and circle around or circle the opponent and keep hitting them with projectiles. We'll see, things happen a little different here on the fly, but that's the idea anyway. So I see an opportunity for us to attack on their shoulder position. I call it a T position. And today I was just on fire with the javelins. It's not always the case. Some days I just can't hit nothing. Been playing a lot of shooters, I think that's why. So I accidentally called all my troops. I really hate when I do that. Now I gotta reposition everybody. But thankfully this time I've only got 6 different squads. Sometimes I will break those infantry into more groups, more squares, but the battles are relatively small at the moment. It's a medium-sized battle, 500 or 600. I've been like slightly increasing it, but I'm just trying to make sure that my game's going to be able to handle the frames per second with all these modded troops. Now I'm just scouting. surveying the land, seeing what the enemy's doing. You know, I'm just using this hill here. As long as we're near this hill, it's very unlikely we're gonna get hit with any arrows. And what I've done is I've called all the troops forward because these guys aren't gonna come at us because they're outnumbered. So we're gonna slowly approach them, but we're gonna use these hills as cover. These whoops that go up and down, we're gonna keep using those ditches to help us advance without getting hit with any arrows. I've got my own damage modifiers, so a single arrow really doesn't do much against armored opponents. The battle's been tweaked quite a bit. We got way less damage and faster attacks. Tier 1 troops are nothing. You can cut through groups of them. Because we got Slicer, knock them down, breakthrough, all these different things, realistic shield usage. There's lots more battle tweaks, so the fighting's a little different, and the gap's been really increased from tier to tier. Like, I mean, tier 1 troops are even going to have a hard time against tier 2, and the gaps just keep getting bigger and bigger up until tier 5 and 6 is basically like a legendary or demigod type character. You know, you see we're just approaching this bank, and what I like to do is almost a musket formation. You'll see me do that quite a bit with archers. And the reason I do that is because we do have muskets in people with blunderbusses and stuff, so moving them into a line gives everybody a clear shot. Just doing some more recon. Just gonna check out what's happening. And once again, I got all my cavalry with me. I like using both ranged and melee in one group because my melee guys usually have projectiles. But I will avoid getting them tangled up as long as I can until, like, it'll come up most likely in this video, but I won't do a charge unless the enemies are in a really loose scattered formation where we're not going to get caught up in like a wall. So I'm just taking it slow here and moving in position. With this hill, we got all the time we need because they don't want to be the aggressor, so that means we can basically take time, do some recon, do some scouting, and set up any kind of play we want. That Viking music's pretty damn rad. Today we're using Assassin's Creed and Diablo 2 music, I believe. Assassin's Creed Ragnarok. I think that's what it was anyway. You know, some days I feel like it's hard to miss. Other days I couldn't land a shot to save my life. I'm always surprised when I get 3 or 4 in a row. I just keep thinking, no way. Because some days I'll miss 10 in a row. Alright, so what I'm doing here is instead of approaching them all from one area, I'm taking my cavalry, using them for the flank because they're the fastest. And I'm slowly moving these guys into the danger zone, but they're going to be able to start throwing shots too. I like a good L, 90-degree angle. Sometimes if you got to do a flying V or a funnel trap, those work good too. But the 90-degree, you make an L with your arrows in an L shape and picture your enemies in the middle of that L. So if they got shields, they're going to be getting pelted in the shoulder, and that's what you want. T position it's called. If you were in like combat sports. Basically when you're on a T position, it's basically a free shot, it's a cheap shot. But it's within the rules and it's perfectly honorable. If you're not watching yourself on the battlefield, you're gonna get taken out. So today I'm using Hercules because he's the highest level character, and then because I'm running around solo and the Azrai are a pretty tough team, I'm using him because we could actually take quite a bit of more troops. I think my character only has about 300. And I just can't really seem to coordinate with my team very much. They're usually doing something stupid around the map. So it looks like it's a win. I mean, it was a slow setup, but an absolutely sweeping defeat. Basically shut them completely out. Sent them back to the minor leagues. Got him. Oh shit. Didn't even see this big pike square sneaking up on my cavalry. Don't you dare touch Joan of Arc with your pikes, you dirty bastards. Look how easily you slice through them. That's another thing that's really useful. Is I think what I did is, oh whammy, I used something called LongerCraftingParts, and then I created my own pikes and then equipped them onto pikemen around the map. Ooh, with the flying smash. I'm just calling the troops back in, bringing them in. If you let the charge go for too long, everybody spreads out. Bannerlord is a game of numbers. You want to divide and conquer the enemy, but keep yourself composed. Stick together. So sometimes I'll just alternate between charge and follow mute. That way people don't get too out of line. There's the celebration. That's me knowing the match is completely over. I think what I'll do is I'll probably start shortening these parts a little bit. Like once the main battle is over, the main skirmish, I'll fast forward until we get to the scoreboard. And I think I showed at the beginning of the film here, or the beginning of the video, we're on realistic damage for everybody this time. I'm including myself. And we haven't run into any high tier armies, so I haven't quite got to display anything yet. It's been fairly one-sided matchups, but it all comes down to that, how high tier their army is. And you saw how quick we cut through the gambison of the low tier pikemen. Item imports are probably, if you're into modding Bannerlord, I would say item imports are just about something you could do unlimited of. But that's what makes up the majority of my mods, and why I got so many like unique troops. The only thing to consider though is some of them aren't optimized, which means too much detail can cause lag. Look at 6 dead versus they lost 250 plus 130. Well, I don't think so, Farquaad. You're coming with us. Gonna have you burn down more of my villages. Scoundrels. Here's the Diablo music. So that was kind of one of my main inspirations because of the way this inventory is set up. When I first saw Bannerlord, I thought it was like my dream game, because growing up, my 2 favorite games were Age of Empires and Diablo 2. And Bannerlord kind of is like a mix of both of them in a perfect way. But what I did was I just made some tweaks to make it even more so like Age of Empires and Diablo. So we got both troops, historical troops from all eras, but we also got the Diablo 2 type mythology, mystical weapons and ghouls and demons and or whatever you want to call them. We got orcs and elves. Actually not orcs, orc bandits, I guess. That was one thing I couldn't get working, was like the orc skin. Well, this time I'm showing you a little bit of inventory management. I'm just showing you everything is the same. Like sometimes when you import items, you gotta look whether it's something you gotta give your character through cheats, or if it'll spawn in the buildings, or the shops rather. So most of my items will spawn in shops, or they spawn on my custom troops, so I'll actually be able to collect modded items after battles too. So that's one way to get custom items into the loot pool. But here we go, this is the main event. This will be the biggest battle so far. This is episode 3. and I'll be right back. So this I thought was a really brilliant idea, and I kind of like the way it looked. You can see I got this ambush happening here in this little column. What I was going to do was open the front door and just let them come in the front door and just annihilate them from there, but we'll wait and see what's going to happen here. You see I got archers, I got all my troops back here, and I was going to set up a defense and just take them all out with projectiles before they even got to us. There's the fire sword. I kind of like that one. Sometimes I'll equip all my companions too, but it's a little too much lag. Another thing I can do is add the explosive super throwing items. Like most of my companions got super throwing items, but what I can do is add the thunderbolt explosion to it. But then we're almost too overpowered. But sometimes it's kind of fun to mess with that to give my fellowship more mystical powers. But it kind of gets easy. Sometimes I'll enable them if I'm in like a really hard battle. Or some Asian Dynasty musketeer troops by the looks of it. Ooh. Whoever hit me had a really strong gun. But see, that can happen sometimes. Like even if I had the 50% damage, I would have most likely just lost 50% of my health, or if not more. See, so now I'm King Arthur, I think. King Arthur is one of the OGs of my fellowship in the story here. Didn't take me long to figure out who was going to be on the fellowship right away. I was like, okay, King Arthur and Merlin are going to be like Gandalf and Aragorn. In a lot of ways, that will be the top two. But Hercules was the main character and one of their apprentices, basically. But then Joan of Arc, Braveheart, and Crazy Horse were also first ones recruited. And then there's Rani Lakshmiba, who's actually similar to Joan of Arc and Braveheart. Actually, he's pretty similar to Crazy Horse. It was closer to that era too. What I did was I kind of recruited the peasant freedom fighter types, and I got like Leonidas and Maximus, Sun Tzu, Maoto Musashi. I forgot about Musashi. He was basically like Hercules' lieutenant. Hercules and Musashi are the two best fighters. We got Sun Tzu as well. The Art of War. Another one bites the dust. So this is, I believe, RTS camera giving me the option to pick another soldier. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to just stay in line with the troops for a bit here. We got some phalanx, pike Spartans here. And what I noticed here and while I was playing is they got like these plate boots. I don't know how or why I put those on. It must have been for the armor buff, but I'm gonna end up changing those to some Roman or Greek sandals or shin pads, bronze shin pads, something like that. Sometimes I look at some of the things I made and I'm not sure what I was up to. I'm sure a lot of times it comes down to like damage and tier and armor. Sometimes I just felt like the historical armor wasn't quite powerful enough in some cases. I was thinking about going for a flank. I think I'm gonna do it. These long pikes work so good behind a shield wall. Like if you put a shield wall and then put your pikemen behind, you can actually still get those stabs. And they work appropriate too. In close, they're no good. But you get some serious range with them. There's that CrushThrough working, and now the cavalry has arrived. The light on the 5th day. Who is it? Maximus and Joan of Arc. You know, I almost think that was the meaning behind Lord of the Rings. I went on this like spree of watching these movies, both fantasy and historical, medieval, Renaissance, you know, these type movies. And I think sort of the meaning behind the Fellowship of the Ring was like they were a fellowship of chosen ones from different cultures. Because it's almost like hard to figure out who's the chosen one. If you think about it, is it Aragorn? Is it Frodo? Is it Gandalf? But I was watching it again, and Gimli was like Jar Jar Binks, like he couldn't be killed even by accident. And Eowyn actually kind of reminded me of Joan of Arc a little bit. Like there is some similarities with real characters like King Arthur or the legend of King Arthur and Aragorn. Aragorn also has a little bit of Braveheart almost built into his character. So that's sort of what I did here is I started off building my fellowship of like historical characters, right? And then from there I just kept editing troops. And just like Lord of the Rings, we accepted people from all different different cultures and everything. But we only took the humble, the brave, and the courageous. You know, the ones who seek power like Voldemort. These Empire guys. Conquerors. I end up putting them on the other team. Some of them, like, they're pretty great military leaders and stuff, but I think they make better villains as far as like this fantasy playthrough goes. Like, I just don't see how people like Napoleon or Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, they couldn't be in a fellowship because they need the power. What I did was I made them lords on the other teams and gave them superpowered empires and troops, just to make things interesting. A lot of characters actually that I took from Deadliest Warrior, which is a pretty cool old show. They feature a lot of these characters, and the show's really great because they break down some of the historical battles and the techniques, and actually a handful of my best techniques come from that show. Same with some of my inspiration for characters, because, you know, they did like Samurai versus Viking and Spartan versus Ninja and all kinds of things, and, you know, I got all those characters and more. Pirates and knights, all warriors from all eras, with a cap ending at the 1900s though. So basically we go from BC all the way up to 1899. We got troops all in those eras. What I did was I would pick a culture and then add all the cultures. More often than not, like one culture or one faction will be like a continent, like Asia. Crusade is just like an Asian dynasty team, meaning they're Japan, they're Asian. So there's inspiration from different cultures. You know, Empire is obviously Greek and Rome, with a little bit, they got some other characters like some conquistadors. Some factions just ended up with a bit of a mix, like Sturgia inherited Napoleon and the French army, even though he should maybe be a Valandia, but it's because they were blue. They ended up joining Sturgia, who is, if I'm not mistaken, they're more of a Viking team, and they do got some firepower like pirates. At this point, I think it's mostly just a slaughter. One of these days I'll do like a behind the scenes type thing, and I'll maybe show you guys some of my mod settings. Talk about some of the mods if you're interested in starting your own. It's on like a pretty older version of Bannerlord, but I haven't had problems with it. Sometimes it's nice to switch back and forth between different versions, because none of them are going to be perfectly stable, but some of these older versions have some really unique mods that never did get updated. And once again, we're up against peasants, so this is going to be easy peasy. love that hockey cross check. Knock them down and then you stab them a couple times on the ground. You really can't stymie yourself with those pikes, you gotta get good range. Oh, another easy win. Gotta get a cinematic pose. Oh, hell yeah. So what happened was, you might have seen this before, where some guy gets stuck in the walls so you can't kill him. Never retreat. I mean, don't surrender, instead retreat. And watch what happens here. Now you can just send your troops as long as you got troops left. Like, you can't attack now, but since there's only, you know, a few guys left, or one guy or whatever, that's how you get out of that glitch. Ungrateful bastard, I let you free. Alright, well that's pretty much the end of this episode. Hopefully you find some of the techniques useful. I know I didn't really break it down, I kind of just yacked. But I'm going to start trying to show you what techniques I use to vanquish the enemies off the map. Like I said, most of them come from Deadliest Warrior, so if you're interested, I would start by watching that series if you can find it. Here, look at, you can see the whatever modded gear the enemies have is the loot they're gonna drop, so that's pretty nice. Setting up your own game like this can take a long time, but it's worth it once it's done. Like, the only thing that that I regret is I can't really share it with anybody. Instead I could maybe inspire you or help you to make your own, but it is not easy. Can take a lot of troubleshooting. But I find it worth it. Like, you think about how much hours you put into gaming anyways. I just put a portion of my time into mods and configs and setting up, and eventually I end up with the exact game I wanted to play. But anyways, I'm gonna sign out here. Thanks for watching. If you got any suggestions about what you'd like to see, some mods, if you got questions about how to set up your own, go ahead and let me know. I'll take tabs and make sure to add it to like a little behind the scenes video when we dive into some different mods and configs. I could even show how you use certain things, like my little warband. And let me tell you right now, what you want to do is you start your new game and then you start adding mods. Don't try to load your new character with a bunch of mods enabled. Start a brand new game and then you start with Custom Companion, My Little Warband. I promise you won't regret it, even if you got to play on an older version. But here we go. This is going to be the start of the next episode. So thanks for watching. Catch you next time.